Just kidding.
Remind this month.
Oh, you typed it out?
Yeah, I have to give it to the secretary.
Ralph Rodriguez? He's in your waiting room? Let me just tell you. Ralph, let me tell Ralph. Yeah, Ralph Rodriguez. Hey, Ralph, are you there? Ralph Rodriguez. Hey, we're gonna have to bump this to 1:30. We're getting close on this trial, I think, but
Sorry, Judge, I didn't hear you. What? I'm
I
sorry.
said we're gonna have to bump your pretrial to 1:30. I'm getting close on the trial, I think, but I just I don't have time at this moment. But
No.
we'll get to you.
Okay, Judge. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
We ready? All right, for the jury. All right, be seated, please. Okay, call your next witness. Okay. All right, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Be seated. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Please introduce yourself to the jury here.
Lorena Garcia, supervisor of English County CSD.
And maybe we should move that mic a little bit closer to you.
Lori Lee Garcia with Nueces County CSD. I'm a supervisor.
How long, and let's start with, what does CSCD stand for?
Nueces County Adult Probation.
So you are a supervisor there. How long have you been a supervisor?
6 years now.
Prior to that, how long have you worked for the department?
I've been with the department a total of 14 years.
And in the time you've been a supervisor, what have been your duties?
To supervise offenders that are on probation for various cases, to ensure that they comply with their conditions of probation, such as not committing new offenses, staying from the use of drugs and alcohol, submit to random drug and alcohol testing, stay employed. They have curfews, some of them, and they also must attend classes and programs in regards to their offense.
So this CSCD, that stands for Community Service and Corrections Department.
Community Supervision and Sanctions.
Okay, thank you. What is the mission statement of your department?
Changing offender behavior through the appropriate resources to help create a safer community.
So is part of the focus to help people on probation to learn and change so that they can be productive members of society?
Yes, ma'am.
And through your time with the department, are you familiar with all the various court documents such as judgments, motions to revoke probation, orders imposing sanctions, those sorts of documents?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach you?
You may.
So I kind of wanted to just go through a little bit with you with what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 187. Have you seen these documents contained in that exhibit before?
Yes, I have.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here having to do with probation. So I was hoping you could help explain some of that for the jury. So we'll start here with this portion of it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier to read. What is this document that we're looking at?
That is an order of deferred adjudication.
What is deferred adjudication?
Deferred adjudication is when an individual pleads guilty or no contest, and the court defers the judgment and places the individual on supervision and gives them conditions in which to abide by.
So in regular terms, would this be a form of probation?
Yes, ma'am.
But is this a kind of probation that if someone is successful on it, they don't end up with a conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is the defendant in this case?
Brandon Portillo,
What is the date that this order of deferred adjudication was entered?
October the 18th of 2012.
For what offense?
Burglary of a habitation.
And how long of a period of community supervision did Brandon Portillo receive?
3 years.
And then here in this document, what is this document called?
Those are conditions of community supervision.
And it kind of talks a little bit at the beginning about some of the things that you help supervise in your department. Are those what we would call standard conditions of probation?
Yes, they are.
And so kind of some of the number one thing is always don't commit a new offense, right?
Correct.
And then number two is don't do drugs or drink alcohol.
Correct.
Okay. And then from there we go down, don't hang out with bad people, report as you're directed, have a job, stay in Nueces County, those sorts of things.
Yes, ma'am.
And those are all standard.
Yes, ma'am.
And then people have to pay some fees and fines here and there. And then it looks like here on 10-1A, what was that condition?
If you operate a motor vehicle, that you are to have proof of insurance.
And then what is the felony victim impact panel?
The Felony Victim Impact Panel is a course that we give to all offenders that are on felony supervision. And it's basically to, most of the time, we have a victim come and speak in the course to inform them of how that crime has impacted their lives.
What is the theft rehabilitation program?
Theft Rehabilitation Program is also known as Theft School. It is a program that is about a week long where we try to rehabilitate the offenders on how to do other things instead of stealing.
And under adult learning education, is that just a requirement for Mr. Portillo to get his GED?
Yes, ma'am.
And then it looks like down here at the bottom, he had to do 240 hours of community supervision.
Community service. Yes, ma'am.
Service, yes. And then not associate with street or prison gang or anything like that.
Correct.
And then here at the next one, don't associate or have contact with drug users or drug dealers.
Correct.
And then what's the one after that?
Do not go to barns, taverns, nightclubs, saloons, gambling establishments, or enter any packaged liquor stores where alcoholic beverages are sold or are on premises consumption, except for the sole purpose of eating in a restaurant where alcoholic beverages are sold incidental to the restaurant business.
So we've seen now there's a couple of conditions that have to do with, not doing alcohol, not consuming alcohol, not consuming drugs, not hanging out with people that do those things, not going to bars, places that sell alcohol. What's the purpose of those types of conditions?
That way, the individual that is on probation refrains from making bad choices and maybe hurting a member of our community.
And are they required to report any new arrests within a particular time period?
Yes, they are.
What is that time period?
24 hours.
Are they allowed to possess firearms or ammunition?
No, they're not.
Are they required to have a valid driver's license?
Yes,
If
they
they're
are.
operating a vehicle?
Yes.
And do they have a curfew?
Yes, they do.
What was the curfew in this case?
10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
And so that means got to be home.
Yes, ma'am.
And it looks like here there was a jail sanction. What does it mean when we talk about a jail sanction?
Jail sanction is when the court orders the individual to spend a certain amount of days in the jail as part of their conditions of probation.
And then here under 12.1, what are those conditions?
To register with the Texas Workforce Commission for a job search as assistant, and to sign an order withholding wages from your paycheck in order to pay court-ordered fees.
And then here in this document, does condition get added?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what the motion to modify means, that we're just adding or changing something in the existing conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
What condition was added here?
For Mr. Portillo to not have contact with Margarita Rosales and or Jolene Gonzalez or their family.
And then here we have what's called an original motion to revoke probation. What is that?
A motion to revoke probation is a document that is filed with the court to inform the court that the individual has violated his probation, his conditions of probation, and a warrant is issued for their arrest.
And what is the date of filing on this document?
July the 3rd of 2013.
When there is a motion to revoke probation before a court, what are the court's options?
The court may continue the individual on probation and sanction them to do something, or the court may adjudicate them to revoke his probation and sentence the person.
And so here stapled to the original motion to revoke probation is a document titled a violation report. What is a violation report?
The violation report is the report that us probation officers file with the district attorney's office. To revoke probation.
Does this give notice to all parties that this is how the defendant has violated their conditions of probation?
Yes, it does.
So what is number 1 here on this motion to revoke probation?
Commit no offense against the laws of the state or any other state of the United States.
And what offense did he commit?
Public intoxication,
And when was the date of that offense?
March the 29th of 2013.
And there's a couple number 2s. What is the first number 2?
Brendan Portillo tested positive for alcohol consumption on April the 18th of 2013.
What is the second number 2?
Brendan Portillo failed to submit to a blood analysis as directed on May the 16th of 2013.
What is the third number 3 violation?
Brendan Portillo admitted to Community Supervision Officer Charles Smith that he was at Big Sam's Bar on the night of March the 29th, 2013.
Are you familiar with where Big Sam's Bar is located?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that located?
The Cal Allen Annabelle Boston area.
And then here we have a few allegations under number 8. This is just he was behind on paying his fines and fees.
Yes, ma'am.
10.1A, what was this violation?
Mr. Portillo failed to provide proof of automobile liability insurance monthly as directed.
And then here we go on to 11.1, letter D. What is that violation?
Brendan Portillo stated to the Community Supervision and Corrections Department that he was at Big Sam's Bar on March the 29th, 2013, on the night of his arrest for public intoxication.
And then what is G?
Brendan Portillo committed the offense of public intoxication on or about March the 29th, 2013, and failed to report the arrest to Community Supervision and Correction Department.
How about letter I?
Brendan Portillo admitted to CSO Charles Smith on May the 24th of 2013 that he drove without a valid driver's license from Big Sam's bar to McDonald's, where he was arrested for public intoxication on March the 29th of 2013.
And finally, letter L.
Brendan Portillo was arrested for public intoxication by Corpus Christi Police Department on March the 29th, 2013 at approximately 1:18 a.m.
And that was a violation of his curfew.
Yes, ma'am.
So then we see in here what's called a first amended original motion to revoke probation. What does that document mean?
A first amended is a document that is filed when we amend the original motion to revoke probation.
Is that usually because there's additional violations that you're adding?
Yes, ma'am.
What date was this one filed?
July the 15th of 2013.
And so will the first amended typically have a lot of the same violations as the previous one?
Yes, ma'am.
And so on this one, do you know what violation was added?
The first number 2,
And what does that one say?
Brendan Portillo admitted to Community Supervision Officer Charles Smith on July the 8th, 2013, that he consumed alcohol on or about February the 23rd of 2013.
And is that the only addition to the violation report?
Yes, ma'am.
And so then you talked about how what a court's options are to modify, sanction, or revoke. Here in this case, what happened on this first motion to revoke probation?
The court the court continued the individual on probation and sanctioned him to the SoberLink device for 90 days.
What is the SoberLink device?
SoberLink device is an alcohol monitoring device that is portable that the individuals blow into so we can keep a track record of their alcohol consumption, if they're consuming or not.
Now, is that attached to a motor vehicle or is that just something they keep in their house?
It's a portable one.
So it can stay at home or go with them wherever they need to go?
Correct.
Do they have specific times or time windows that they're then required to submit a sample to the device?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the purpose for the community to have an offender use a SoberLink device?
To keep the community safe.
So then he's ordered to have that device. What are we looking at here in this document?
A motion to revoke probation.
When was that filed?
May the 1st of 2014.
And so here we're looking at the violation report. What is the first violation?
On or about April the 28th of 2014 in San Patricio County, Texas, the defendant was arrested for failure to identify by giving false fictitious information.
So we have a few number twos alleged here. What is the first number 2 violation?
On October the 1st of 2013, the defendant submitted to a breath analysis on his SoberLink of a .124, a .129, a .122, and a .018.
What is the second number 2 violation?
On December the 22nd of 2013, the defendant submitted to a breath analysis on his SoberLink of a .073 and a .062.
What is the third number 2?
On January the 11th of 2014, the defendant submitted to a breath analysis on his SoberLink of a .045.
Now, we know the legal limit in Texas is 0.08 to drink and then drive. Obviously, some of these are below a 0.08. Is it a zero tolerance as far as alcohol consumption goes on probation?
Yes, it is.
So it's not just, well, you can drink a little as long as you don't drive. It's you're not supposed to drink at all.
Correct.
So then we go down, there's several number 4s alleged. What is the number 4 violation?
Report is directed to the community supervision officer.
And what are the dates that he did not report to his officer?
February the 20th of 2014, March the 13th of 2014, March the 28th of 2014, and April the 17th of 2014.
And then how about here in number 9? What are we looking at in number 9?
The additional court cost, the individual was in arrears $120.
And then how about up here with G&I?
He was in arrears $541 for probation fees and $71 for urinalysis or blood analysis fees.
Do the courts look favorably upon someone who is behind on their fees, yet continuing to consume alcohol because that costs money to purchase?
No, they don't.
So then we have now some violations about the SoberLink device. And so will they get a violation if they don't submit to a test?
Yes, they do.
And does each single time in a day that they fail to submit to a test count as a separate violation?
Yes, it does.
Okay. How many violations did he have on September 22nd, 2013?
2.
And what are they for?
He missed his test, which means he did not flow into the device.
And how many on September 27th, 2013?
1.
How many on September 28th? And that says 2012, but all the rest of these are 2013. Do you think that that probably should have been 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
So how many on September 28th, 2013?
1.
How many on September 29th, 2013?
1.
How many on September 30th, 2013?
1.
How many on October 15th, 2013?
2.
How many on October 18th, 2013?
1.
How many on October 19th, 2013?
1.
How many on October 20th, 2013?
1.
On October 26th, 2013?
3.
October 27th, 2013?
1.
October 29th, 2013?
1.
October 30th, 2013?
2.
October 31st, 2013?
1.
November 1st, 2013?
2.
November 2nd, 2013?
1.
November 3rd, 2013?
1.
November 14th, 2013?
1.
November 15th, 2013?
1.
November 16th, 2013?
2.
November 17th, 2013?
3.
November 19th, 2013?
1.
November 20th, 2013?
1.
November 23rd, 2013?
2.
November 24th, 2013?
4.
November 26th, 2013?
1.
November 27th, 2013?
3.
November 28th, 2013?
1.
November 29th, 2013?
2.
November 30th, 2013?
3.
December 1st, 2013?
4.
December 3rd, 2013?
1.
December 4th, 2013?
2.
December 6th, 2013?
2.
December 7th, 2013?
2. I'm sorry, 4.
December 8th, 2013?
1.
December 10th, 2013?
2.
December 11th, 2013?
1.
December 12th, 2013?
1.
December 13th, 2013?
2.
December 14th, 2013?
1.
December 15th, 2013?
1.
And what is this final allegation here in B is a violation?
The defendant tampered with the SoberLink device on January the 24th of 2014 by having someone else blow into the device.
Here in C, what is the violation here?
The defendant failed to complete community service hours with a balance of 213.5 hours.
And here on number 7,
The defendant was in San Patricio County, Texas without permission on April the 28th, 2014.
and so here we're looking at the order imposing sanctions on defendant and continuing their modified probation. What was the sanction here in this case?
The period of probation was extended for 1 year, and he was sanctioned to the substance abuse treatment facility.
What is the substance abuse treatment facility?
It's an inpatient residential facility located here in Corpus Christi, where we give the individuals treatment for alcohol and drug use, as well as cognitive skills.
How long does that program last?
6 to 9 months.
And what are we looking at here?
A motion to revoke probation.
And it might be a little hard to see, but when was this filed?
August the 4th of 2015.
What is the first violation alleged here?
On July the 26th of 2015, the defendant Brandon Portillo committed the offense of driving while intoxicated in Corpus Christi, Texas.
What is the second violation?
On July the 26th of 2015, the defendant Brandon Portillo was under the influence of alcohol as witnessed by CCPD Officer A. Castro.
Was he still behind on his fees?
Yes, he was.
What was he behind on and how much?
He was in arrears for the months of May 2015, June 2015, and July 2015. And then probation arrears for the months of May 15, June 15, and July 15.
And there are two 11-1 violations, letter J. What was that violation?
Defendant failed to report to CSO Sandra Garza within 24 hours that he was arrested for driving while intoxicated on July the 26th of 2015.
And the last 11-1, letter D.
On July the 26th of 2015, the defendant was arrested for DWI at 2:06 a.m.
Was that a violation of his curfew?
Yes, it is.
So finally here, what is the section that we're looking at?
A judgment adjudicating guilt,
What is a judgment adjudicating guilt?
finding the offender guilty of the offense.
And is that because they were originally placed on deferred adjudication?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the date of this judgment?
September the 17th of 2015.
And what was the sentence in this case?
2 years of in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
So when we have someone like Mr. Portillo here, in this case, with multiple motions to revoke probation like that, why not revoke on the first motion to revoke that gets filed?
We have a continuum of progressive sanctions that we try to give individuals to help them better themselves and become contributing members of society.
So the goal is to try to continue to help them as much as possible.
Correct.
But at a certain point, does that just become something that clearly can't be achieved?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was clearly given opportunities to apply even after having multiple chances given to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Cross?
Hi, Ms. Garcia. Now, were you his probation officer at any point in time?
No, I was not.
And so you don't have any personal knowledge as to, the day-to-day appointments and interactions with probation?
No, sir.
And so, were you the supervising officer that was overlooking all the probationers at that time?
No, sir.
And so you're just here to read the MTR exhibits.
Correct.
Well, let me ask you some other more pertinent questions then. These progressive sanctions that you just mentioned here. Now, you said a little bit about it, but I want to go into it just a little bit more. So on that first MTR, we had, given them sober limit, right?
Not necessarily, it just depends on the situation. We also have in-house sanctions, which is something that we do before an offense is committed. So say, for example, if you were to admit to drinking alcohol for the drug test, then at that point, we would do an in-house sanction instead of bringing it to the court's attention and maybe doing like 90 AA meetings in 90 days or something of the sort.
Okay. And so the progressive sanctions reach even below the point of where it gets to an MTR. They're in-house, there might be, and then as the violations were serious, though, you'll take it a little more seriously.
Correct.
And you keep bumping up the type of sanctions based on that progressive scale, more serious, more sanctions.
Correct.
Now, I noticed that you sent him, or that he was sent, not you, obviously, but he was sanctioned to go to SATF.
Correct.
And you said that was a 6 to 9 month inpatient program, but what does that mean, inpatient?
Inpatient means that they stay there at the facility. The facility is not locked down. If the individual wants to run off from the facility, they can, which is of course a violation. But it is a facility that is a residential facility.
Okay. And while reviewing the records, did you notice that he graduated SATF?
Yes, he did.
And so he voluntarily completed that treatment program.
Correct.
Now, this is an inpatient program there to treat addiction, right?
Correct.
You as a supervisor for community supervision, do you get some training and experience with addiction in your day-to-day job duties?
Yes.
Why is addiction such a big issue in probation?
Because the addiction causes them to do other things, such as maybe if they're a drug user and they don't have money, then they go and commit other offenses to get the money for their addiction.
And these addictions, commonly we don't lump alcohol in with drugs, but probation does, right?
Correct.
And you can be an addict to alcohol.
Correct.
And these steps that probation takes when we look at those conditions and the sanctions, these are to help someone get out of their life of addiction.
Correct.
And it's not always successful.
Correct.
Because what is relapse?
Relapse is when an individual chooses to use the drug or alcohol again.
And so they basically fail at their sobriety.
Correct.
Now, what is community supervision's policies when it comes to an individual who has relapsed?
Then they staff the case with the supervisor, depending on what the situation is, and then we go right back to that progressive sanction.
With the goal of getting them back to sobriety, right?
Correct.
Ultimately, as per the records that you read, Mr. Portillo did not follow his probation, did he?
No, we did not.
And what was the ultimate end to that probation? How many years?
2.
Okay. I'll pass it on.
Anything else, Louis?
Just briefly, on all of those violations on the second motion to revoke probation about missing the sober device test, how are those treated as far as probation is concerned?
And it's been treated as far as,
Do they count as a positive?
oh, yes, they do.
And you were asked about a person's sobriety. Is sobriety a personal choice?
Yes, it is.
And are people who are willing to make changes in their lives typically the ones who are more successful on probation?
Yes, they are.
Pass the witness.
Anything else?
Question, thank you.
All right, you may stand down. Call your next witness.
It will follow Detective Jesse Solis.
All right, you're still under oath. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. So you've already been introduced to the jury, spoken with them before. But just as a refresher, are you the investigator that was responsible for putting the case together that we are here for?
Yes, I was the investigator assigned to put the case together and follow the.
Now, obviously, the jury's heard all about the intoxication manslaughter of Alan McCollum and the intoxication assaults of Michael Love and Kevin Haney. And they have found the defendant guilty of those offenses. But that night, was there another offense that he was charged with?
Yes, on that night, he was also charged with driving while license suspended, and enhanced charge.
And can you talk to the jury about what the basis for that charge was?
In 2019, which is the previous year, July, his license has been suspended by the state for refusal.
What does the refusal charge mean?
Refusal would mean that he had a previous DWI where he had refused to provide a specimen. Based on that refusal, his license was suspended. And at the time of this incident, the license was suspended.
So those are normally Class C misdemeanors, is that right?
Normally, if somebody's caught driving around with suspended license, license citation, I'll get their car impounded. In this case, because of the injuries and the death, then it would enhance the license.
May I first witness?
Yes.
So you brought a few things here with you today. I'm going to label those. So these are items that you brought here today. Generally speaking, what is in State's Exhibit 213?
Objection.
What's the
Items have
objection?
not been admitted yet. He's about to explain what they contain. Yeah, we'll play.
Well, I mean, I guess good to see if he recognizes it.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit 213?
Yes, I did.
Did you bring that here with you today?
Yes, I did.
Where did you get it from?
These are items that were in the property room, which has been there for the last 2 years.
And are they related to this case involving Brandon Portillo, the defendant, and Officer Michael Love?
Yes, these items right to my right are all related to Officer Love.
And generally speaking, what are they?
Basically, they're the shirt that he was wearing, his vest, and also the items in my pockets.
And that's all in states 213, 214, and 215. I will move to admit states 213, 14, and 15 at this time.
This time I'm gonna object to relevance and violation of 403. You want to discuss it?
Okay, we can discuss it. All right. All right. So he's, y'all can be seated. First objection is, oh, yeah.
about who Michael was before this incident. You talked to the jury about the man you married.
That's sort of the mountain of a man. I mean, you've seen how big he is, and just imagine that, but extremely strong. And you never caught him without a smile on his face. And he took working out and being fit and everything like that really big.
What was his attitude like toward life itself?
Always happy, easy going, loved making other people happy.
And prior to this, we heard Michael talk about the Spartan race. Were y'all working toward another Spartan race, or what was going on with that?
We were, I had already signed up for both of us to do it together this time because it was like too much fun.
And can you tell us about Michael after?
He's definitely not the same man that I married. He disconnects all the time. It's hard to get him involved with family things. I mean, he's there, but mentally he's not there. You rarely see genuine smiles from him now, which myself and his family and my family all take notice of, and I worry that our kids see it too.
How does he cope with the pain? And is the pain constant?
The pain is constant. He tries to hide it, and some days he does better at it than others, but a lot of times he lashes out at me, lashes out at the children.
And was he that type of person before?
No. No, not at all.
Can you talk to the jury a little bit about his emotional well-being, about the effect this had on him mentally, and you?
A couple months after, I tried going back to work. And I feel very fortunate that my husband was able to vocalize with me that he needed me to leave, so I had to quit my job of 10 years to stay home with my husband to make sure he didn't kill himself.
So he was strong enough to let you know that he was that devastated. Lauren, what was it? Was it the pain? Was it the loss of who he was? Was he ever able to let you know what it was that had so just destroyed his spirit?
It's all of that. It's the pain he deals with, the survivor's guilt, the pain and anguish he feels from the department, having lost his career that he loved.
When Michael remembered this, did he remember it differently than what had actually happened on the videos?
A little bit.
What was it that he was living with? What did he remember?
He thought that he was close enough to be able to grab Alan to keep him from going over.
In his memory, he hadn't made it all the way back to his unit. He thought he was still standing there next to his partner. And so has he done better now coping with the survivor's guilt? And why do you say that?
Only natural to do though. What if I hadn't made that stop? What if we'd been somewhere else?
And even though he knows he didn't do anything wrong, he still has that guilt.
Correct. We still live with the night terrors, the guilt, the anxiety and depression.
What type of jobs has he had since this event?
Security for one of the resorts, which just meant walking around and locking doors.
And how did that affect you?
That was rough.
And what other jobs did you have?
Now manages food and beverage for a resort.
Where did y'all move to?
Boy,
Why?
as a last ditch effort in hopes that it would make him happy again and make him feel whole, that his parents are there too, so that they would be able to help me with the kids.
Was that an easy decision for you to move away to Hawaii?
No, I left my family, I left my friends, I left my career.
Why did you do it?
Wasn't really happy with that.
Before this, what was he like with the kids?
Very hands-on. We did everything with the kids. One of my daughters started doing 5Ks together. And he was always throwing them up in the air. Doing stuff you think most dads would get to do with their kids.
And now?
He can't throw them up in the air. Can't really run well at all anymore. So there's no 5Ks in our future.
Lauren, what is his prognosis? I mean, have y'all talked about the pain and the deterioration that's going to set in with him over the next years for the rest of his life?
The surgeries are done, so this is as good as it gets.
And does he understand that living on Tylenol and ibuprofen and all that's going to have other effects on his system? Is he still opposed to trying to take pain medication?
Yeah.
Now, you're aware, are you not, that since January 31st of 2020, that Brandon Portillo picked up new felony criminal charges while in the Nueces County Jail? You're aware of that, are you not?
Yeah.
Can you tell the jury how that impacted Michael and you to know that even after this defendant killed someone and caused this devastation in y'all's life, that he would continue on that path of criminal conduct?
I see no redeeming qualities in him whatsoever. He seems to have found his place in life quite nicely and seems to be happy where he's doing.
And did that have a mental or emotional impact on Michael to know that he hadn't learned anything, that he was continuing to commit felony offenses?
Correct.
Why was it that Michael was so adamant for that year to convince you to let him go into law enforcement? What was the pull for him? Did he ever tell you?
We love helping people. He's really good at it, very good people person. His father was a detective in California. Just wanted to do better for our family.
And does he have any future plans? Is he gonna stay where he is for now at the resort?
I don't know what our future looks like. We're just trying to find happiness.
Is there anything else that you want the jury to know? You can't tell them what you want in terms of, for Mr. Portillo, but as they go back and they think of Michael and your family, what is it that you want them to know about how this has impacted you and the kids and Michael?
This past 2 years has been extremely isolating. No one knows what we're going through, the lives of police officers when it reach out to me, and I understand now that that's because I'm a walking reminder of what could happen to their husband. Still feel like I'm not allowed to complain because he's still here, and I didn't technically lose him, but I did. I did lose him. There's a big part of him here that I don't know that we'll ever get back.
I'm gonna pass it.
All right, Cross.
No questions for this witness.
All right, you may stand down. Call your next witness.
Ms. Hay would call Carissa McCullough.
Okay. Doesn't testify here. No. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, you may proceed.
Carissa, can you tell the jury your name and tell them how you are related to Alan McCullough? Carissa McCullough. And so that would mean you're Liliana's sister. So Carissa, can you tell the jury how old you are? And without giving me an address generally, where do you live? And so, obviously, you know why we're here. When this first happened with your dad, did you have much contact with our office? And after we then began communications with you, who did we primarily communicate with? And what's your mom's name? And why is that? Krista? Why is it that you didn't really want to talk to? Yeah. It's easier for her. And we'll take it slow, but anytime you just feel like you don't want to answer anymore, just let me know and I'll stop my questions and I'll pass you along, okay? Can you tell us about your dad? Where was he born? How did he grow up? Born in Colombia. And, so he grew up in foster care, and was he adopted eventually? Sorry. I didn't hear what you said. Grandpa Jim and Grandma Gail. And what was your dad like? What was his personality? So, was faith important to your dad? And how did you know that? Now, you sent some photographs, is that right? And that approach on it.
Oh, yeah.
the state would offer exhibits 217 through 230.
All right.
Objection from defense.
Okay, they're admitted.
All right. So can you tell us about this tattoo? And what was his response?
Like, no.
And was this psalm important to him? And 218? Who is that? And 219? And 220? Did he like to play with you and go to the park and do things like that? And 221? Who's in that picture?
Me and my sister.
And we see he has on a Beach to Bay relay shirt. Did he like to run and work out? $222? And who is Hannah? And was this a proud day? And 223? And who is this? And we see Liliana and her dad with the same flavor ice cream. Was that pretty common? And did you enjoy spending time with your sister and your dad? And 224?
For my high school graduation. The person who sent me.
And 225? Did he teach you how to ride a bike? 226? Now, who do we see in 227? And 228? And these were the parents that adopted him out of foster care?
Yes.
And were they active in your life? And was family important to your dad? 227? And 230?
High school graduation.
When was this? Can you tell the jury what the significance is of this photograph in May of 2019?
So,
The last time you were physically in his presence while he was alive.
yes.
Now, Krista, we've talked about your testimony here today. Is that true? And did you love your dad? Yes, him? Is it important for you to tell your truth?
Yes.
And you'd like you'll honor your dad by doing that? Did you have a perfect relationship with And we heard you say that May 19th was the last time you've seen him. The jury knows he died in January of 20. So that would have been 7 months. Can you talk to them about where you were, your relationship with your dad when he was killed by Brian Fortin?
Still rebuilding. There was one issue that we about. But he was really trying. And he was calling more and sending calls more and
Be texting you?
he was texting more.
What was your hope for your relationship with him?
I thought it could get better. I thought maybe we'd be able to spend more time. It fixed.
And so, did you have that conversation with him in May of 2019?
Yeah. We talked about a lot of things. And wanted me to come out and visit. But if he got his own place, that I would not to see him.
And was that your hope? Was it you were going to get to have that dad that you knew he could be?
I just wanted him to be there. And he wanted that.
Can you tell the jury how you found out that something had happened to your dad?
In bed, right in one of my college essays.
What time was this?
And I saw and I answered, and she was like, "Who's been in that state?" And you're that state.
Did you at that point understand what had happened?
No.
Had she been trying to get a hold of your mom, Rebecca?
Yes.
And she wasn't able to reach her? What did you do after you received that call?
And I tried to explain, but I didn't really know. Gone one day.
So what did your mom do at that point? If you remember, when did you actually come into Corpus?
Days later.
Did you have a chance to see Michael and Keomi?
He met them at the hospital.
Why the hospital?
It was still there.
Did you ask what happened to your dad?
I did, and they explained, and he thought with me, that was that. And that's, and like, I found out how he actually died.
The fact that your dad had fallen off that barrier, that overpass. How did that affect you to know that's how he died?
Nobody should die like that. He was doing his job. you know.
So you understand, when did you first come and finally meet with us, Carissa, the liaison? We met for the first time in person? At that time, did we let you know that he wasn't by himself for very long? That there were good Samaritans that went to his aid?
Yes.
And officers arrived pretty quickly, knelt with him and lowered him. Did that give you some comfort?
No, he wasn't all by himself.
Now, how has this impacted you since? Are you still in school?
Yes.
How are you doing in school?
Say great. I'm doing it. I just felt like I couldn't get back on my feet, right? And I wasn't able to complete the classes of talking
What are you studying?
with scientists.
What do you want to do?
I thought I wanted to do physical therapy, but I couldn't tell you what I want to do right now.
And where do you attend college?
University of South Florida.
Was it important to your dad that you go to school? So, can you tell us how it's been since? Have you started going to counseling?
It helped with talking a lot. I didn't want anybody to know.
Why didn't you want anyone to know what had happened?
So. I feel like you can't handle it, and if everybody knew, then you have to handle it.
You kept it a secret. So, at your last time you saw him at your graduation, what was your dad doing that you talked to us about that just kind of embarrassed you?
He was standing up, taking 1,000,000 pictures, and he wanted to sit down. How embarrassing.
And now,
I wouldn't take 1,000 pictures.
you know the jury has found Mr. Portillo guilty. And has that provided some closure for you?
In a way, but it's
Do you still have memories to make with your dad? Have your dad been talking about the things y'all wanted to still accomplish and do together?
going to go skydiving because that's what he did.
When you say that's what he did, what do you mean?
He was pretty sure that and he worked with it.
You do that now?
I do.
And what other things did you think about trying to go do with them? So those were y'all's plans that you had talked about. And you understand that's never gonna happen. Do you think ahead to the other things that are never gonna happen for you and them?
You won't be there for my college graduation. You won't get to be at my wedding. You won't get to see the children. You won't get to take part in it anymore.
Do you think there's ever gonna be a day in your life that you're not gonna think about what happened to your dad?
So in the back of my head.
Is there anything else that you want the jury to know about your dad, or who he was, what it's meant to be to lose him, as they figure out a proper punishment in this case?
Anyone deserves it. Anyone should have died like that. He was a good man. And he wanted the best for people. It's good, right?
Get it past you.
All right.
No questions first.
Okay, you may stand down.
Short. We can do it short if you want to. But I think we're gonna have to have a discussion outside the presence of the jury,
Okay.
so.
All right, to the jury.
Just in anticipation.
Okay. All right, be seated, please. Okay. Call your next witness.
We would call Chief Mike Markle.
All right.
And Judge 231 was admitted. Correct.
Barring any foundational objections, that's admitted.
I have no further objections.
Okay, then it's admitted.
Then there's no foundation, I don't need to like predicate.
All right, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, you may proceed.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you go ahead, Chief, and introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Good morning, I'm Mike Markle, Chief of Police.
And how long have you been a law enforcement officer with the city of Corpus Christi in general?
33 years, since 1989.
And can you tell them a little bit about your road with CCPD, kind of what divisions and departments you were in, how you ended up in the top spot?
Oh, man, it's a long road. 89, I was in patrol. I stayed in patrol most of my career. While in patrol, I was on the honor guard, I was on the SWAT team for 9 or 10 years. That's a short time in CID, temporary assignment. Came up through the ranks. I stayed in patrol until the rank of captain. So my first 20 years, I spent in patrol. And then oversaw Metrocom, criminal investigations, all of operations at one time.
And can you tell them a little bit about Honor Guard? What is Honor Guard and what does it mean to be a part of Honor Guard?
Honor Guard is a unit that honors our fallen and our folks. They do the honorary services at funerals, at special events, posting the colors. It's a very dignified, I say beautiful, it is a beautiful team that goes out and represents our department and pays the greatest respect to those officers who have passed away.
And the jury has heard that Officer McCollum was part of the Honor Guard.
He was, and this was.
And can you talk to us a little bit about SWAT, since you were part of SWAT? How long were you part of SWAT?
Back, but I think 9 years, 10 years, something like that.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about what SWAT means and what they do?
SWAT is our tactical team. They train constantly at a very high level to handle those very dangerous, high-level situations that take special training, keep everybody safe, put themselves in harm's way. That even more so than the everyday work that our police officers go in harm's way every day. SWAT team takes it to another level. They're dedicated. They do most of the things in their own time. They're a wonderful group. And they're part of a collective. And they're SWAT, they have their hostage negotiators, the bomb squad, the guide team, part of this group that really brings us to another level. The big obligation, remember, is our execute. Our special teams have to take care of the entire area. So they're not only handling critical incidents right here in Corpus Christi, but for the entire Gulf Coast region.
Now, I want to talk to you generally about when a law enforcement officer is killed in the line of duty. How does that affect the department? How does it affect morale of the other officers who may have been witnesses or had to respond to that scene? How does that affect the department?
It's deeply impactful. We say we're a family, and we are a family. As eclectic and as different as each one of us are. They all bring something, a different personality, different skill set, right? Perspective to the police department, which strengthens us, right, within our community. But it also bonds us. It makes us a very tight collective. So it's painful. We lose one of our own in the line of duty. A mix of emotion. Right? There's anger, sadness, carries to home to their families, because their families, our officers' families, are brought into this, right? Into the sorrow, into the healing process. It's a very emotional time. It's a challenge for us because you have to reconcile the death. Our officers have to choose and work hard to not deal with it with anger. They have to work through that. Go back to work, serve the public, love the public. It's not an easy time.
Is it a reminder of the mortality?
Of course, we're not infallible. We're not indestructible. We're humans, right? We're your neighbors, right? Officers coach basketball and soccer and go to church, and volunteer, do all those things that any community member does. Raise families.
Now, when an officer is either killed in the line of duty or even passes from, we've had some pass from COVID.
Yeah.
Is there something that is done with regard to a final radio call for them?
There is a final call. It's our way of honoring and saying farewell to a fallen combat.
And does it honor their uniqueness as a member of the law enforcement community?
It does. It honors their uniqueness. It shows our reverence toward them, to their lifelong commitment.
And was there a final radio call done for Officer Alan McCall?
Of course,
And were you part of that radio call?
yes, and I was honored to be so.
And what do they call you? What is your call sign?
Number one,
And Alan McCall, what was his SWAT call sign?
Echo now.
And you've had an opportunity to listen to that recording, correct?
Of course.
And is it true and correct
Yes.
that been changed or altered in any way? Your Honor, at this time, I request permission to publish State Exhibit 231.
All right, State's Exhibit 231 is admitted into evidence, and you may.
And for clarity of the record, no further objection if it wasn't already technical.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean to be 10-7?
10-7 is our code for out of service.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Cross.
No questions for this witness.
All right, you may stand down. You're free to go about your business. Call your next witness.
The state of Texas and the punishment phase, in this case, rests, Your Honor.
All right. What says the defense?
Defense would like to call its first witness.
You may. Call your first witness.
This time, defense will call Robert Ladner to the stand.
All right.
May I approach, Judge?
Yes. All right, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Be seated. All right, you may proceed.
Sir, could you state your name for the record?
Robert Ladner,
And where did you first meet Brandon?
and SAT up here in Oasis County.
So were you sanctioned at SATF as well?
Yes, sir.
Which means that you yourself have been charged with a crime.
Yes.
What was that?
I was on probation for a theft charge.
And so you found yourself at SATF at the same time that Brandon was there.
Correct.
What was your drug of choice that led you to that
It was
situation?
alcohol and marijuana.
You and Brandon, how did y'all get to know each other there at SATF?
Just daily activities. We had to attend classes there. There was certain classes that were mandatory. There were things that were extra that you could do to try to use that time to maybe better yourself instead of going back into the same way of life when you did get out of there. So found ourselves doing a lot of the extra things to try to not just be stuck in the same cycle of committing crime or being in trouble all the time to try to better our lives. So
You see a little bit of yourself in Brandon's situation as well?
of course,
How so?
you can see, I mean, somebody can start to, after SATF, I've done well for myself, and I see he was doing very well for himself, and for one very tragic event could change anything.
Well, let's step towards that here. So you're saying that SATF had a significant change for you, right?
100% changed my life.
And just in a few different ways, how so?
I probably wouldn't be here today if I wouldn't have been for that, for SATF.
Now, you don't live a life of complete sobriety today, though, do you?
No, sir, I do not.
What have you been able to do with the lessons you learned at SATF?
Just a lot more responsible. I'm married with a child now. My wife doesn't drink, so if I do drink on a weekend or once a month, I don't drive. If I'm driving somewhere, I don't, and I never overdo. So
Now, so when SATF ended or you graduated, there was a lapse in time when she didn't see Brandon, right? You weren't friends with him right afterward, were you?
yes, no, we were not.
When did y'all run into each other again?
At work, I was working at the Keyway Yard, and he ended up, I was a supervisor. He was one of my crew members.
What do you mean the Kiewit Yard? What does that mean?
Keyway Yard in Ingleside,
Well,
Hewitt Offshore Services, in Ingleside, Texas.
okay. What kind of business is that?
I'm a pipe fitter, so we were doing pipe fitting work.
And so you said you were a supervisor. What was he doing there?
He was a pipe fitter on my crew.
Now, do you know anything about how his probation ended up or anything like that? Did you find out later? Okay. And so when you re-met him, he was a worker.
Yes,
What kind of worker was he?
solid. One of the best ones I had. He was always at work, always on time, stayed the whole day, would never leave early, never missed days. I mean, this was 2 years ago. I never had any bad experiences with Brandon, ever, not while we were working together. Not ever, but I mean, just while we were at work, there was never, he was always a very good employee.
And how long was he part of your crew?
It had to be more than a year.
And so in that way that you knew him as employer, would you say that he was a dependable person?
Yes, sir.
And did you know very much about his past struggles with alcohol besides what you knew in SATF?
No, sir.
And there in, you said pipe fitting or construction, is drinking pretty common?
Yes, sir.
And this is something like after hours, this is a common thing for your workers and for anyone in that business to partake in, right?
It's usually more of a weekend thing, but I guess yes, sir, after hours.
And so you're not really here to add much, except in that situation where you keep seeing his work life and his reliability. And how did you hear that he was back in jail?
Well, it was, we actually had spent time apart from that work, and he had called me up, asking where I was working. I was actually working out of town in North Dakota, and he asked me to put his name in, and it was 2 weeks later, I got a call from a friend, a past friend. I said, "Did you hear about Brandon Fortune?" I said, "No," and he sent me an article from the newspaper.
And so just 2 weeks prior to this accident, you were in North Dakota talking to him about a job. And why were you considering him for a job up there? And what kind of job was
I could have worked, I was a supervisor in North Dakota. Okay. Was looking for work.
that? And so just a phone call and you added him to the list of potential candidates for that job.
Yes, sir.
And once you heard he was in jail, what did you do with his name on that list?
My superintendent. I'm not worried about that.
That's what it's-
Cross?
Thank you, Judge. So I know you talked a little bit about how you were on a probation that landed you at the substance abuse treatment facility here. And you said that was for theft.
Correct.
And that was a felony theft where you had completed deferred adjudication. Is that right?
It was not though. That's why.
Okay, so you didn't plead guilty to a state jail felony theft,
I did not.
but you were also convicted of a misdemeanor theft in 2014. Okay, well, if that's what records showed, do you have any reason to dispute that?
No,
When was the last time you worked with Brandon Tortio?
it was in 2018, I believe, at the Hewitt Yard.
How long was that for?
It was a little over a year, I believe. I was there for 18 months. I think Brandon came on after I was there for 2, 3 months, 4 months maybe. I don't recall the exact dates because I don't do the hiring, but people just get put on my crews, but it was sometime like that.
So what time did you get out of SATF?
2015, I believe. I think it was July of 2015.
Did you and Mr. Portillo get out at the same time?
No, ma'am.
Did he leave before you?
I believe so. I believe he was already there whenever I went to that facility.
So were you aware that after he shortly got out, he got arrested for another DWI?
No, ma'am, I was not.
And then were you aware that in 2019, he also got arrested for DWI?
No, ma'am, I was not.
And so this time from 2018, when he no longer worked there, who left Hewitt? Did you leave Hewitt or did Mr. Portillo leave first?
No, we were getting laid off in different increments of the job was in.
So after that time, you didn't have any contact with him other than him reaching out shortly before this offense happened. Is that right?
That's correct.
And were you aware that he picked up some felony delivery of methamphetamine charges while sitting in jail here in January?
No. In January, no, I heard something right before we came to court last week. Buddy at work actually that knows Brandon said, look what he just got charged on. So I did see it about a week ago, yes. But before that, I had no knowledge of it.
But you didn't know what that charge was about.
No.
Have you watched the video of Mr. Portillo drinking 18 drinks before getting behind the wheel of the car?
No, I don't have not.
Have you watched the video that shows Officer Alan McCollum being flung to his death from the Carroll overpass due to his drinking and driving?
No, I don't have not.
Did you watch the video where you can hear Keanu Reeves' frantic pleas for help? Did you watch the video where you can hear Michael Love's blood-curdling screams of pain?
Okay.
And what can you possibly offer this jury that has? Nothing.
Anything else?
Did you come in here to testify about any of that stuff?
What stuff?
The things that the state just brought to your attention?
No, sir.
Why'd you take off work today, come here to testify on Brandon's behalf?
You said it could mean a difference between life and 20 or 30 years.
And so you didn't have to come down here, did you? You could have just not answered any of my phone calls, went to work today, could you?
Yes, sir.
So why'd you show up?
Difference in life in 20 or 30 years is a big difference.
Thank you. I'll pass it, please.
Anything else?
Yes. Were you under subpoena to appear today? And what you have to offer the jury is that you met Brandon at SATF and you worked together for 1 year back in 2018. But you know absolutely nothing about what he has done since then.
Anything else? Last go round.
Would you come in here whether I got that subpoena or not?
Yes, sir.
The subpoena was pretty boss, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Anything else?
Nothing further.
You may stand down. You're free to go about your business. All right. Call your next witness.
Since I did have to issue subpoenas, he released from those obligations.
He's released. He's free to go about his business. Call your next witness.
Next, I'll call Michael Portillo to the stand.
All right, Michael Portillo. All right, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Be seated. All right, you may proceed.
All right, could you state your name for the record?
Mike Field,
What's your relationship to Brandon?
his brother, older brother,
How much older?
5 years.
And how close have you and Brandon been last 10 years?
We've been really close.
How so?
We always stayed with each other. He always lived with me.
He's lived with you?
Yeah, he lived with me.
And I mean, how recently have y'all lived together?
Do he got a new girlfriend? Well, back, 2018 or 17, I believe I have two.
Okay. Now, you yourself, you've had a wild streak in your time, right?
Yeah.
You also drink alcohol or used to?
Yes, I used to drink alcohol.
In fact, you drank with Brandon plenty of times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
How many other siblings does Brandon have?
We have an older brother and a sister, and a half brother and a sister. They live in Houston.
They live in Houston. Where, who do they live with?
They live with my dad.
And so are your, is your mother and father the same as Brandon's mother and father?
Yes.
And how long has it been since y'all's mother and father have been together as in a relationship?
In 2001 or 2002.
How old were you when that happened?
I was in middle school. I was 12. I was in second grade.
And how old was Brandon?
Say 6, 5 or 6.
Were you old enough at that time, whenever that breakup occurred, to see the effects that that had on the house?
Yes, I mean, everything was about different, you know. You used to see your father around all the time. It's just being with your mother. Takes so long.
Now, that doesn't, I mean, your father didn't disappear, right?
He didn't disappear, he was still around.
So it's not like he just walked off into the night. It was just a little bit different
Yes, yes,
and not in a good way.
yeah. We just used to have my father figure around at all times. In the house.
Did not having that father figure in the house change the relationship you and Brandon had together?
Not, it didn't change the relationship. I mean, he was a little younger, I was a little older at the time. So I really wasn't, when we were younger, I wasn't as close to him. But as we got older, yeah, I mean, me and him were, you know, pretty much wherever I went, he would go with me, you know, help me out with rent, stuff like that.
And I mean, even, I mean, to the point that it's, you've helped him out several times whenever he's gotten in trouble.
Objection, leading.
All right, don't leave.
Has there been any times when you've known that Brandon has gotten in trouble?
Yeah.
Have you helped him out during those times?
Yeah.
You shown up in police reports with Brandon?
Yeah.
Has he been released to your custody when he was a juvenile?
Juvenile, I think so, yeah. When he was younger.
You bonded him out of jail before?
I had one from marriage.
In fact, one particular incident was Brandon charged with,
Objection, leading.
Stay.
do you know what a beer run is?
Yes, I do.
Was there ever, are you aware of an incident where Brandon was
I was
accused of
yeah,
a beer run?
I was asleep in the phone.
And
I was mad.
what happened with you that night?
I was, but like before we got caught,
Sure.
I mean, we had some drinks. I fell asleep in the car.
And then how'd you wake up?
I woke up with police, wake us up, telling us they're gonna take us to jail.
And where
I
did you,
was asking why. I fell asleep.
and where did you go?
Yeah.
Now, let's move forward a little bit. Do you remember when Brandon got charged with burglary?
Yes, I do.
What was y'all's living situation at that time?
We had an apartment.
With who?
It was me, my sister, and my mother, and Brandon.
And so y'all were all living together. What was the sharing situation? Were y'all sharing all the bills?
Yes, we were still.
Why'd y'all have so many people there at one apartment sharing bills like that?
Well, we've always taken care of my mother. Like, she's always lived with, you know, me and my sister. So my mom was like, she's never really worked. So we're always want to take care of her. So we just did it, you know, to save a little money between all of us. We can have a means of transportation at the time. we thought it'd be the best way to save the money, so someone would get a vehicle.
Did you have any concerns during that time, like while you were living together before you got arrested? Did you have any concerns about Brandon's lifestyle that he was living?
Yeah, he was young, he wanted to party, drink, just like anybody who's young.
Okay. And he didn't stop with alcohol, he used other things, did he?
Yes, he did.
Like what?
Pills. But, I think Xanax,
And when you went to jail for the burglary, did you bond him out?
I think he did 3 months or something like that, and then we did bond him out.
Okay. So you knew him before and after that burglary charge, right? What sort of changes did you see in Brandon whenever he started up probation?
When he got out, you could tell he wanted to really push himself to get a job, and stay out of trouble. He didn't want to go back. So he did. He ended up getting a job at Sam King for a while. He was there, and we were living together at the time. We had moved to another spot off of that. Yeah, he was going to work every day. Saved up money to get a car. He got a car that he didn't want to get, back BMW. And we're paying bills, and weekend come around, we'll hang out with friends and have a couple of drinks.
So he didn't stop his drinking.
No,
Did you notice that he stopped his use of pills?
we stopped the music too, but we had talked about that. We didn't want it in the house.
What do you mean we?
Because, I mean, I have a child, I have a son, and he would come over on the weekend sometimes, when it was my weekend. And we had want him going and seeing that part of his own work.
Okay, so you mentioned your child. How has adding a child to your life changed your lifestyle?
It's changed a lot, made me grow up a lot quicker. And he wants to stop doing a lot, crazy things that I used to like to do. Pretty much turned me into a man.
Now, did Brandon succeed on his probation?
No,
You recall him being sent anywhere?
he got sent me to that program. I'm not too sure.
Did you have any contact with him while he was doing that substance abuse program?
Yeah, they have family life, and we would go,
Who was weak?
me and my mom.
Why did y'all think it was important for y'all to go over there and family nights?
We're family at the end of the day.
But why is family important in that situation?
So you don't feel like you're alone.
Now, ultimately, do you recall him getting arrested again? What did he get busted for? Okay. But you don't specifically recall?
I don't recall, but I want to say it was like 18. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the
Okay. Where did he end up getting sent after that?
prison. For the remainder of his time.
And where was that prison at? Where did he serve it?
Revoke.
And while he was over in Beeville, did you make any special attempts to try to stay in touch with him?
I always wrote him letters. We'd always talk on the phone. I never got to drive up there and do the work, but I always try to make an effort to stay in contact with them.
Now, why did, you said, due to work, do you work a lot?
Yes, sir.
Would you say it's pretty characteristic for people in your family to work a lot?
Yes,
Why?
just the way of it. You try to provide for your family. You gotta work. That's how we were brought up. That's how my dad raised us. We can brought up to work at a young age. And that's how we really get to move through life.
And even, Brandon, he started, did he start working at a young age?
Yes, he did.
Did that affect his, high school at all?
But maybe in a way, we just met a lot of different people from different areas.
But he didn't graduate high school, did he?
He didn't go to
What did he start doing instead of graduating?
work.
Now, did you continue to have a relationship with him after he got out of prison?
Yes, sir.
Once he was out, did you notice any further changes to Brandon?
Yeah, he was a really good person.
He's a completely different person. What do you mean?
He wasn't a boy anymore. He wasn't acting up. He was more forward and he knew what he wanted now. So he got a job. His goal was to get a house.
Now, he didn't just get a job, he got some training or something, right?
He's a journeyman, I could journeyman.
Do you recall why he pursued that?
It's a good career for you. And that's what I do as well.
And I mean, to you, what's the difference of having a career and having a job?
Yeah,
How so?
just kind of know where you're gonna go in life. You have more ways of succeeding, more opportunity.
Prior to that time in prison, had you ever seen Brandon try to pursue a career?
No, it was just making a paycheck.
And you said you also a pipe fitter. Have you ever worked with Brandon?
Yes, we work with each other a lot. We travel a lot.
We all working together in January? of
We were
2020?
working together.
And even that night that this accident happened, you were working with him, weren't you?
Yes.
You were even, you would go with him after hours to things too, wouldn't you?
We were pretty much together all the time.
Were we all at the evening that this accident, or the evening before this accident happened?
The evening before,
Well, no, the evening of, when the accident happened, where were y'all?
well, we were at work and then we went to one.
So you were there with him while he was drinking.
I was there. We had to drink together.
All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and break for lunch. We'll see you at 1:45. Got a few things, but I'm gonna blaze through them. And we'll continue the trial then.